All right, welcome to 2018, and I'm going to give you your first lesson for Infinite Dragon Hands. Your first lesson is you are perfect. How do I explain this? Well, for one, there's only one of you on earth, so there's no standard by which to measure you to find flaws and imperfections. If I say something is 2 inches, it's because I compared it to a ruler. If I say something weighs 50 pounds, it's because I compared it to a scale measurement of standardized 50 pounds. There's no standard version of you. You are who you are. You are a living, growing, creative being. So we cannot say, well, here's a standard of the last time you were here or the other 100 copies of you. There's no such thing. The second thing to keep in mind is people have this delusional perspective of perfection as being completely one-sided. You say, I'm not perfect because I make mistakes. Who told you that making mistakes precluded you from being perfect? Think about this. If I had a battery that had a positive and a positive terminal, would it work? Of course not. You need positive and a negative terminal. If I had a magnet that only had northern polarity, you know what you call that? A piece of metal. All magnetized pieces of metal have a northern and southern polarity in order to create a magnetic field. So what does that tell us? Well, anyone who knows anything about the philosophy of the yin yang understands that the completion of the yin yang, not yin and yang, but yin yang, is the opposing forces, the balance of opposing forces. So in order for you to be perfect, you have to be complete. You can't be missing something and call yourself perfect. Meaning, you have to be able to make mistakes and you have to be able to not make mistakes. That's the key to perfection. We all have this ability. Now, we expect it on small things. We don't expect it on life, however. Give you a good for instance. You expect that when you bend down to tie your shoe, when you stand back up, your shoe will be tied. What is your current record on that? 10 and 0? 5 and 0? What's your percentage? Do you successfully tie your shoe 20% of the time? 13% of the time? Or is it 100% of the time? When you pick food up to put it in your mouth, do you do so successfully 10% of the time, 90%? Or is it 100%? So when you go to turn on and off a light switch, when you go to stick your key in the ignition, there's so many things I can use in examples where you take it for granted. When something as simple as walking, right? You don't expect to make mistakes doing certain things. You can literally go 1,000 times doing certain functions and you do so successfully. So we know on the small things we have the capacity to be perfect. We even demand it from other people. Go into a restaurant, a fast food place. Look how many people get angry when at that fast food place someone makes a mistake on an order. Nobody says, well, nobody's perfect, it's okay. You get mad because you say this is your job. You're supposed to not make any mistakes. Odd. We hold ourselves to be imperfect, but we hold perfection as a standard for others. When you drive on a freeway, when you walk into a building, when you drive your car, you don't expect your car to start 80% of the time. You don't expect freeways to successfully support the weight of vehicles 90% of the time. You expect these things to function flawlessly 100% of the time. Why? Because you set a standard of perfection for others and for things that contribute to your life, but you haven't set that standard for your life. So the challenge for this year is to set that standard for your life, that standard of perfection, that standard that says, I expect that when I get up in the morning, I'm in control of my life, and that my ability to accomplish my goals is a series of small tasks that I have no problem completing. If I have to buy a $60,000 car, if I have to buy a $300,000 house, I probably don't have the cash available. But if I broke it down into smaller tasks, okay, well, I can pay $1,500 a month, $1,800 a month into this house. So I'm going to pay $1,800. Then I have 30 days to figure out how to come up with another $1,800. I can even save money and plan for the future and say, in the event I lose my job, good thing I saved up that money. Good thing I kept that balance on that credit card low, just in case. So the key to perfection is recognizing that you have the capacity to make mistakes, but you also have the capacity to correct those mistakes before anybody else can catch them. The last time you took an exam and got 100% is because you caught all your mistakes. The last time you took an exam and got less than 100% is because someone else caught your mistakes. So let your standard be perfection for the new year, meaning that your standard is, I will correct my mistakes before a consequence befalls me as a result of those mistakes. And I have the ability to do that. Now, if you don't believe you have the ability to do that, this is not the system for you. You're going to be a person that wakes up every morning expecting to have a miserable day because you're not in control of your day, because you're already predestined to make multiple mistakes that you, for whatever reason, cannot control. But when you say, I woke up this morning expecting to accomplish goals, and I don't expect to be stopped because the fact of the goal being accomplished is 100% up to me. If I make mistakes, I'm going to fall short. If I make the mistake, correct the mistake, or I see the mistake coming and anticipate it and avoid it, then my standard is perfection, my goals are accomplished, and I'm ready to take that journey that is infinite. And that's the name of my system, Infinite Dragon Hands. So your first lesson this year, your first lesson of Infinite Dragon Hands, is to learn to accept the philosophy that perfection is in you. And because that perfection is in you, nobody should see your mistakes but you. Have a perfect year. Start working on 50 push-ups on those first 2 knuckles, recognizing there are 52 weeks in a year. So even if you can't do 1 push-up, do 1 this week. Do 2 next week. So every day, you're going to do 1 push-up every single day until you can do 2. And then you're going to do 2 push-ups every single day until you can do 3. And you're going to stay consistent that way throughout the entire year. And next year, you'll have completed the first physical requirement of Infinite Dragon Hands, which is 50 push-ups nonstop on your first 2 knuckles. And you'll have accepted a philosophy of growth that will be with you even when I'm not. Have a wonderful 2018, and see you at the next lesson.